Okay, tonight we're going to go ahead and do our notes for section 6.6 and the properties of trapezoids. Okay, so the first thing that you have to know are what are the parts of a trapezoid called. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw this out. These are parts of a trap or a trapezoid. Okay, so you're going to draw out this nice, pretty trapezoid. Okay. Now, in a trapezoid, the bases are parallel, okay? And that's how you know which two sets are parallel to each other. Those are going to be your bases, all right? So this is a base, and this is a base, okay? Then the other set of lines are your legs, okay? And then what you'll find out is that we have base angles, okay? And if you have a trapezoid, you're going to learn today that if you have a trapezoid, an isosceles one, then your base angles are congruent, okay? So this is one set of base angles, and this is another set. Now notice that they are congruent to each other, but not all four are congruent to each other, okay? All right, so now you have the parts of your trapezoid. You have the base angles, you have the legs, and you have the bases, okay? The other thing that you have to learn is how to identify if it is an isosceles trapezoid. And an isosceles trapezoid says that both of my legs are congruent to each other and that both of the top and bottom, or both of the bases, are parallel to each other, okay? All right, so this is the first thing that we need in our notes. The second thing is a piece of paper that you received today in class, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make mine real quickly. Let me get caught up to you, okay? All right, so you received this half sheet of paper in class. Now what we're going to do is make our foldable, but we're going to do it lengthwise. So we're going to do it like this, okay? So that you have a long, skinny piece of paper instead of a short, fat one, all right? Now, so I folded it in half just like this. It was up and down, folded in half. Now you need to take your scissors and we're going to cut 4 slips, okay? So 4 slips, you know, as evenly spaced as you can, okay? So now you have a thing that looks like this, where you have 4 little slits on this side and the hole when you open it up. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to write on here. On the front one, we're going to do theorem 663 to start with. Okay, and this is the theorem that says if you have an isosceles trapezoid, I'm going to abbreviate, but you don't have to, isosceles trapezoid, then you know that the base angles are congruent. Okay, so that goes on the top of that one. Then we're going to open this up. We're going to draw a diagram right here, an explanation for the diagram on this side. So here we're going to do the diagram. You're going to get really good at drawing these lovely trapezoids. Okay, so we're going to label our vertices. Remember, you have to go in order around. Then we know our bases are both parallel to each other. And it said that if you have an isosceles trapezoid, well, we know that we do because that means that both of these are congruent, okay? And you learned that your base angles are congruent to each other if it's an isosceles, all right? So in this case, we were told that we had an isosceles trapezoid, so we know that the base angles are congruent. So over here, I'm going to write down what I now know, all right? That angle A is congruent to angle D, and angle B is congruent to angle C, okay? Now, on each one of these, we're going to put the theorems on top in words. Then we are going to open it up, put a diagram or a diagram representation, and then the explanation of the diagram on the left side. So let me just kind of get you started in the right direction. On this one, you're going to do 6-6-4. Then you're going to do 6-6-5. And then for the last one, not my favorite number, but we will blow through it with a theorem name, okay, which is called the trapezoid mid-segment theorem. Okay. So we'll write the name of that on the top. Okay. And I think what I'll do is go ahead and give you an idea of what needs to go on the inside. Okay, so this one says that you can have a trapezoid. It can be isosceles or not. It doesn't have to be. Okay. Label your vertices. Now the mid-segment, just as you might imagine, says that it goes from midpoint to midpoint. Okay, so that means it cut this side in half and it cut this side in half. Notice these are not congruent to each other. All right, it just cut the sides in half. Now if I had isosceles trapezoid, that would be different. But what the theorem also says is what I want you to write over here, and that is, well, let's go ahead and label our midpoints, that segment XY is parallel to segment BC, okay, and segment XY is parallel to segment AD. All right, now that's the things that you need to know, that all of these are parallel to each other, okay. And for the final formula, you need to know that the mid-segment is equal to 1/2 the sum of the bases of the triangle. Okay? So that should give you a good idea. All you have to do now is go back and fill in the theorem names, a diagram, and some kind of explanation of the diagram on the left side. Okay? All right, if you have any questions at all, feel free to email me or Miss Scott, and we'll be glad to help you. We'll go over these notes tomorrow in class. Have fun.